I am Hazel, 36 years old. I used to believe that if I stayed useful enough, brought the napkins, took the photo left early without asking for leftovers, they'd eventually make space for me too. But then the wedding photo arrived in the mail glossy and scented with everyone's arms linked except mine. No one said I was missed. No one noticed I wasn't there. And I understood being easy to leave out doesn't mean you were ever truly in. I used to think if I kept my volume low enough, someone would eventually lean in to listen. The call came while I was sorting laundry, one sock missing its pair the usual. Aunt Donna's name blinked across the screen, her voice breezy as always. She asked what color I was planning to wear for the engagement brunch. I told her I wasn't invited. There was a pause, not long, but it stretched. Oh. I assumed. She didn't finish. Instead, she pivoted. Anyway, Heather's thinking floral, something with sleeves. She didn't ask again if I was coming. We both knew the answer. The call ended a minute later with the clink of her glass in the background. I stared at the phone after she hung up, and for a moment it felt heavier than it should. I opened Instagram, something I only did when I needed noise that didn't involve sound. Brooke's profile was the third one down. The photo had been posted 2 hours earlier, a wide table at Larkspur Bistro. Brooke, in the center, palms open mid-laugh, Mom next to her, with her hair blown out, Dad raising a glass. Aunt Linda, Cousin Heather, even Ruth Beasley, the neighbor who once thought I worked in retail, sat tucked near the end. 12 tagged, I counted. No one had thought to include me. I tapped the screen and my own face appeared faintly in the reflection. The screen dimmed as if it too knew I didn't belong there. 3 weeks earlier I had texted my mother, "Need help choosing a dress, got a thing at work." The message still showed, delivered. No reply. I didn't text again. Later that evening, I reread a message from Brooke, sent months ago. "If we do something small, you'll still come right." It had sounded like a promise. I had said yes. I never saw the group thread, never received the itinerary, never got the dress code. Once at a family dinner, I asked if anyone had set a date. Brooke looked at Mom, then said, "There's no point stressing Hazel with all the details. She's busy." No one corrected her. The silence afterward wasn't awkward. It was smooth. Practiced. That night, I folded the same sock 3 times, still without its pair. I placed it back in the drawer. Some things are easier to keep than to admit they're missing. I didn't delete the photo. I just stopped looking for myself in it. I used to count silence as a kind of closeness. There was a dinner, once holiday, maybe Easter, when I wore the cream dress she once complimented in passing. I sat straighter than usual, answered questions only when asked, passed the roles without being told. Brooke spilled wine on the tablecloth and laughed about it. No one noticed what I was wearing. At work, I had planned a full quarters campaign, got invited to present the results at the regional conference. I emailed them the flyer. Brooke's playing at the conservatory that night. Mom replied, "Hope you understand." I did. I stopped inviting them after the 3rd no. The last time I tried was my birthday. I bought a lemon cake because Dad once mentioned he preferred citrus to chocolate. I made a playlist with no sad songs lit. The patio lanterns even added name tags to the folding chairs. One had her name in gold ink, Carolyn, not Mom, because I thought it might seem more formal. Only June and Aunt Donna came. Brooke posted a story from a brunch across town. Dad never responded. Mom texted the next day. "She had something at school. You know how it is. There's a drawer in my apartment with a stack of unused party cards. The one with her name still has a faint smudge from the pen I tested first. When conversations turned sharp, I smoothed them. That's just Hazel. Always too serious. I smiled like it was a joke. It never was. At Thanksgiving, I offered to bring cranberry stuffing, even though I don't eat meat. Brooke wrinkled her nose. Let her bring napkins. It's easier. Nobody disagreed. So I brought napkins, printed ones with tiny leaves. No one commented. Later that night, as I rinsed dishes at the sink, I heard Mom behind me. Not everything is about you. I hadn't spoken. I learned to step sideways to clear the hallway for Brooke to lower my voice when Dad's shows were on, to eat quickly when Mom looked tired. Once I offered to take the holiday card photo. Brooke asked, "Do you want to be in it this year?" Then she laughed. I took the picture. I scented them carefully. The copy they mailed out later didn't list a photo credit. Just love the Hartmans. I kept the card, folded it once, slipped it into the same drawer with the unused invitations. Some things aren't worth framing, but you still remember where they were kept. I used to think presents would eventually earn place. The card came in a red envelope with gold foil lettering. "Congratulations, Brooke," to our brightest star, written across the front in Mom's handwriting. Inside, glitter pressed into the fold, a check tucked neatly in the crease. I found it in a box in the guest room next to a pile of save the dates and a plastic bag of unused ribbons. Mine had never arrived. I had been accepted into a fellowship that spring. Not flashy, but competitive. When I told them, Dad nodded. Brooke always said she wanted to try something like that. Maybe next year. I sent a photo once standing next to a company banner holding a plaque that wasn't gold, but still had weight. The message I got back, Brooke, just got named lead soprano. "You two are doing so well." There were 2 hearts at the end. No question. No follow-up. In the hallway near the stairs, there's a family photo in a black wood frame. Everyone in shades of navy and beige, sitting on the old stone steps behind the house. Brooke in the center, of course. I remember that weekend. I was at a client summit in Denver. The date had been changed last minute. No one mentioned it. At one of those awkward work-adjacent dinners, Brooke called me the wallpaper sibling. It got a laugh. She's always there. Quiet. Steady. Kind of blends in, right? I raised my glass. Everyone smiled. Even Rachel, who sat across from me, didn't speak until later. You don't have to agree with them. I told her I didn't mind. There's a copy of that photo now clipped to the family calendar that Mom updates every year. My name's in pen below the holidays, squeezed between Brooke's dentist and Dad's club dues. I once typed a message, "Why wasn't I in the photo?" The dots blinked for a long time, then stopped. I never sent it. The things I've learned to hold on to are so small. The sound of Rachel's fork clinking hard when Brooke laughed too long, the way Aunt June looked at me after the toast, how the sleeves of my dress felt too tight that evening, though I'd worn it before. There's a box in my closet with no label. Inside brochures from that fellowship, the first lanyard I kept from work, and a silver pin I bought for myself when no one else remembered. Some names don't get printed. You learn to write them in pencil just enough to remember, never bold enough to expect they'll stay. I used to think omission was just a mistake in timing. The call from June came on a Tuesday. She asked if I was getting any stronger. I told her I wasn't sick. She hesitated, gentle and unsure. "Your parents said it was serious, that you couldn't travel." She asked how I was feeling now. I told her the truth, I hadn't been invited. I checked online afterward. Not her fault, not really. I searched Brooke's name, just to see. The first image that loaded was her in lace and soft curls, standing between two white columns, bouquet pressed against her hip. Dad held her arm like a prized heirloom. Mom's face creased and lit from within, hovered just over Brooke's shoulder as the veil settled. There were 37 tagged photos. In one the caption read, "Everyone we love all in one place." Heather stood at the cake. Ruth Beasley left a comment. "Brooke, you've never looked more radiant." I wasn't mentioned. When I printed the photo, I chose matte paper. I placed it face down on my kitchen table. The edge curled slightly from the heat of the printer like it resisted being flat. The door to my parents' house was unlocked, same as always. Mom appeared from the dining room with a tea towel slung over one shoulder. She looked at me like I'd interrupted a quiet thought. "You shouldn't come by without calling." I asked why I wasn't told. We didn't want to make things awkward. She smoothed the towel. "You've never liked big crowds." Dad stepped in from the den, arms crossed like it was a business meeting. "You didn't ask about the date." I asked if it would have mattered. He didn't answer. Brooke leaned against the kitchen counter, scrolling through her phone. "You would have hated it. All the attention, the music. You don't do well with that." She didn't look up. No one said they missed me. On my way out, I passed the mantel. A silver frame held the official portrait, Brooke and Warren, in front of the arch Mom and Dad on either side. The flowers matched her dress. My name was never spoken. When I got home, I took off the ring Nathan had given me and set it on the counter, not because I didn't want it, but because I wanted to see if it would leave a mark. Some things you wear for years, and still no one notices. Some things you take off and they finally feel real. I used to think if I stayed long enough, the door would open wider. I cleared the top drawer first, the one with clipped recipes I never used, takeout menus from places I stopped going. At the bottom, I found a folded square of paper with Brooke's handwriting. A list for a school fundraiser. My name wasn't on it. I put it in the box without unfolding it again. Nathan offered to drive me. I told him I wanted to walk. "You don't have to do this all at once." I didn't answer. He watched me fold the cardigan Mom gave me 3 birthdays ago. The tag was still on. I cancelled lunch with her through the app, just a tap to remove my name. No message, no reason. The slot filled within minutes. I imagined someone else taking my seat, someone with easier stories to tell. Rachel stopped by briefly holding coffee and a folder she forgot to return weeks ago. "You're sure?" I nodded. They don't get to ask for grace. They never learn to offer. She left without hugging me. She knew I didn't need it that day. I removed the family thread from my phone. Not deleted, just hidden. Muted voices still take up space, even when they fall silent. Nathan found me later, sitting beside the box holding the cracked watch I'd fixed for Dad one Christmas. He never wore it. "Want to send a letter with it?" I shook my head. "They'll understand. They already do." I sealed the cardboard with clear tape, pressed my palm to the top until it made a soft pop. The flap caved in. I printed no return address. Before closing the lid, I added one envelope. Brown. Unlabeled. Inside a single sheet of lined paper torn at the edge. One sentence centered. "I was there the whole time. You just never looked. No signature. No date." I carried the box downstairs and left it by the door. No one saw me do it. The sky was neither dark nor light, and the wind passed without touching anything. I stood for a moment, not waiting, not hoping. Some exits don't slam or echo. Some simply leave the air still. I used to fill silence with usefulness. The walls in the new place hold light longer. I don't know if it's the paint or the way the windows face, but shadows take their time here. I unpacked slowly 3 plates, 2 bowls, 1 mug that didn't match anything else. I placed it on the counter like it belonged anyway. The first night, I cooked pasta. Not to share, not to impress, just to eat warm food from a real plate. I used too much salt. I didn't correct it. The landlord left a note taped to the door with the Wi-Fi password and a smiley face drawn beside it. I taped over the smiley with a square of paper that said, "Peace, Lily. Finish the sketchbook. Walk farther than the mailbox." The pen I used bled slightly at the edges. I didn't fix that, either. There's a woman downstairs who walks with a cane that taps before each step. She knocked on my door after my second morning there. "You've got kind eyes," she said. Then she offered me a mason jar of homemade pickles and left before I could thank her. I sent out 5 resumes, all printed, no family name listed on the reference section. I used the apartment address, not the office, P.O. box. Just mine, small, slightly smudged on the return label. Enough. I haven't worn the cream blouse since. The one Mom once said looked almost flattering. I folded it behind the drawer and kept a soft t-shirt out instead. No collar, no commentary. Nathan calls sometimes after dinner. He asks if the faucet still leaks. He offers to drive down on weekends. He says things like, "You sound steadier," as if stillness has weight. I don't ask what he tells his parents. I don't explain the hollow parts. Some things don't echo unless someone else is in the room. The peace lily sits near the window. 1 leaf, torn, 1 curling, 1 reaching. I haven't named it. I water it every 3 days. This morning I made tea. I poured it into the chipped mug and sat on the floor near the balcony, knees pulled in back against the wall. No alerts on my phone, no calendar reminders, no unread texts. The steam rose quiet and whole. I didn't speak. I didn't wait for someone to say my name. And it was enough. I used to believe that silence meant distance. It didn't. Sometimes it just meant calculation. The voicemail blinked red once, then again. I played it on speaker while folding dish towels, one corner never quite lining up. "It's your mother. I was thinking, since you're getting married now, maybe we could do a quick photo. Just the girls. For the Gazette's spring issue. There was no mention of a date. No. How have you been? Only Donna said you're using that old manor near Hollow Creek. They'd love a shot of both sisters there. Something mimeless." I wiped the counter without rinsing the cloth. A second message arrived before the hour passed. Brooke, this time. "Will you at least be in the picture? It'll look weird if you're not. People notice those things. No hello, no name, just logistics." I poured myself water and left the glass full on the table. Megan texted later that week. "Saw the venue. Stunning. Everyone's talking. No question, no congratulations. Just a ripple in a pond I hadn't stepped into." The envelope came the following Monday. No return address. Just a photo, Brooke in her gown family around her arms, linked heads tilted just enough. A sticky note on the back. Still 1 spot left. I took down the old frame on my shelf. The one with the mountain trip no one remembered but me. I replaced it with a picture Rachel had snapped by accident, Nathan holding a Mug Me mid-laugh flower on my sleeve. Not posed, not planned, real. Mom called again the next day. "You don't have to say anything. Just show up. We'll handle the rest." I didn't answer. "You've always been so resistant." "We're trying." I pressed the phone flat on the counter until the screen dimmed. Not off just waiting for motion. Brooke followed up in a message till, "It's just a photo. Don't make it about you." She added a heart emoji at the end, like padding a blow with silk. I typed one sentence, then deleted it. Instead, I wrote, "I don't belong in your version of us. Keep it consistent." Then, I turned the phone face down and left it there, screen smudged warm from use. Some pictures look complete because no one asks who's missing. I used to measure myself by how little space I took up. Now I have a corner in the office with a desk no one borrows. The nameplate is handwritten, slightly slanted, tucked in a frame someone left behind. I didn't ask for a printed one. The paper curls at the edges, but it stays upright. The work isn't glamorous. No conferences, no donor galas, just quiet archives, scanned negatives, interviews transcribed in uneven rhythms. I catalogue stories no one else has time for. Someone asked last week if I liked it here. I said yes without qualifying the answer. At home, I hung the bookshelves myself. The anchors aren't perfect, and one leans a little left, but nothing has fallen. The mugs are mismatched, the rug second-hand. There's a vase made from a chipped wine bottle with a single stem of Queen Anne's lace I didn't pick. Sophie brought it after a fitting. "Simple, looks good on you," she said, pinning the hem without waiting for approval. Then, quieter. "You don't flinch when people look at you anymore." Nathan stopped by with groceries and left them without comment. He rested his hands on the counter and waited. "You're not doing this to prove anything." I didn't respond. He didn't need me to. Rachel mailed me a postcard from a bookstore in Portland. The back read, "You don't owe anyone softness, but you kept some anyway. There's a small mirror near the entry, not decorative, not slimming, just glass." I stuck a note to its bottom edge in blue ink. "This time I'm not waiting to be loved in return." The little girl from 2 doors down waved at me this morning. She wore shoes on the wrong feet and held a juice box like it was treasure. I waved back. She didn't ask for my name. The tote bag I carry now is hand-stitched along the seams. The thread snags at one corner. Inside, I keep a folded receipt from a bakery. I like a pen that skips on glossy paper and a scrap of linen I embroidered on a night when sleep wouldn't come. It says, "Belonging is not location. It's recognition." No one gave me the thread. No one chose the words. But they've held. I used to believe closure came with an answer. Sometimes it comes with the decision not to ask again. I found the envelope in the drawer beside the scissors. Cream-colored, thicker than the rest. It hadn't yellowed yet, but the glue at the edges had gone brittle. I pressed it flat with my palm and began collecting. A copy of my birth certificate folded into thirds, still bearing their last name. I didn't highlight anything. A photo from a plastic bin, me maybe 4 knees bent on Mom's lap, fingers sticky with cake. Her face partly cropped. I'd kept it without knowing why. There was no writing on the back. The letter was short, not addressed to anyone, not signed. Just 1 page written in the same blue ink I used on grocery lists. 3 paragraphs, each one smaller than the last. Nathan saw it on the counter that morning. "You going to send it?" I placed my hand over the flap. I thought about it. He didn't ask what it said. I didn't offer. I wore the same sweater I always wear when walking alone, faded at the elbow sleeves too long. The air outside held a kind of stillness that didn't press or pull. I passed the post office twice before stopping in front of the drop box. A man ahead of me slid a stack of envelopes inside. His hands moved without hesitation. His coat was zipped to the neck. I waited for him to leave. The envelope felt weightless. I held it by one corner, then both. My thumb rested on the sealed flap. The ink had dried cleanly. I'd been careful. I stared at the slot silver around the edge from use. I imagined the letter sitting inside, then being sorted by someone who didn't know the names, didn't care about the handwriting. I slipped the envelope into my bag and walked home. That night, I lit the oven to warm bread. The pilot flame clicked once, then caught. I stood with the door cracked open, paper in hand, edges curled like dried petals. I fed the envelope in without ceremony. It caught fast. No smoke. No message. The next morning there was ash in the tray, fine and soft. I wiped it clean with a cloth I didn't keep. Some endings don't echo. They don't need to. They just stop asking to be heard. I used to believe peace required permission. The kettle clicked off before the whistle could build. I poured the water slowly, letting the leaves unfold in their own time. The steam rose without urgency, curling once before disappearing. Nathan slept curled on the sofa, one arm tucked beneath his head, the other hanging over the edge. The blanket had fallen to the floor. The cat had claimed the middle cushion. I didn't move either of them. The light in this apartment bends differently. It lands softly on the wood floors, skims the corners without asking to be noticed. The curtains shift with the breeze. I let them. On the table, Sophie's envelope sat unopened for a day before I touched it. Not out of doubt. Just a kind of reverence. Inside a card with pressed lettering, her handwriting neat but unpracticed. Would you stand beside me? No conditions, no instructions, just space. I place the card in the box I keep by the bookshelf. The lid doesn't close flush anymore. Too many things that matter, just enough. Inside, I keep what I've chosen, a photo Rachel took when I wasn't looking, the stem from the lily that bloomed in November. 3 words on a torn note. You stayed anyway. Nothing in that box asks to be explained. The older woman downstairs knocked yesterday. She said she needed sugar, but stayed to talk about birds. Her coat smelled faintly of old lavender and dust. You're steady, she told me. I didn't argue. I drink my tea without sweetener now. Not as a correction. Just because I've learned to notice the warmth more than the taste. The book on the windowsill has a bent spine, pages annotated in pencil. The margin near the back holds one line I've read more than once. Belonging isn't something you fight for. It's something you recognize in yourself. I looked at it again this morning, cup in hand, curtain lifted by the gentlest kind of wind. I thought about the rooms I used to try to fit into, the ones that shrank when I stood up straighter, the voices that quieted only when I left. I don't miss them. I don't chase them. I didn't win. I didn't lose. I just stepped outside the frame and found out the world still held space for me.